Okay guys, it's no secret that I have power tools. My favorite, Milwaukee's. But that's not where I'm going with this. To do your axles and wheels, to make them as efficient as possible, you want to get rid of any imperfections that there is. And with doing so, you really need a drill. A good drill will do wonders for you. And a drill in a vise is a lifesaver. Yes, I do have a drill press. But this thing's as wobbly as Joe Biden. So, I come up with this several years ago, setting the drill up in a vise, clamping it in. It ain't going nowhere. How you gonna keep the trigger going? Well, that's why we got this guy. Cruise control. Easiest thing to start with, because they're not as time consuming, is the axles. These axles, like I said in my last video, up towards the head has, is that gonna focus? What the heck, look at that. You can see up towards the head there. If I can get it to stay where I want it, right there. About the tip of my finger. They got these little ribs in them. And in there you can see a little bit of a shimmer right on the head. Those are imperfections that will definitely cause friction, really friction and rolling resistance, which friction, that you don't really want with your car. Like I said, these things, they're not powered. For those that aren't familiar with them at all, there is no motor. It's just gravity. Gravity is what controls these cars. So when you lessen the friction up, you increase the efficiency of the car. So that's part of the reason why we treat the axles the way we do. First off, you want to get rid of the burrs, and then get the axle as smooth as possible. I don't get them perfectly smooth, and the reason being is if you leave little grooves in the axle, it helps. It'll help the graphite to settle in there. And I also have another little trick that I also do too, and that's kind of taper the end off of the axle towards the head. So when we do it, about an 1/8 inch in, I kind of put a little groove in there, and it's tapered, but it's tapered towards the head. I'll show that to you a little bit better. So that as you graphite it, it builds up inside of there, and once again, reducing surface area on between the wheel and the axle, reducing friction, and increasing efficiency. And like I said, it helps with graphite. I'm not telling you these are the perfect secrets, but this is what's worked for me over the years. So the first thing I've done is right there, about an 1/8 inch in on the axle, is make a mark on it. And the file I use, it's actually just a cheap one from Walmart, I believe, but it's got the edges on it that you can file on the edges, or you can file on the surfaces, however you want to do it. What I'm going to do, try to get a good camera angle, is actually come in at an angle about like that, where that mark is, put the edge on it, and that will give me my taper. And the other thing I do is take it right up on the head and turn it in just a little bit, One, I'm going to hold it flush against the head at 90, and it's going to help get rid of the imperfections that is right there on that section of the head. And then with me doing that on the head, like I said, reduces the surface area of the axle on the wheel. But I try to do it on a slower speed so that I got a little control over it. You're not going to get the axle hot and warp it. Takes a little more time, but it's worth it. You guys can kind of see there, use my fingertip, there is get my finger to work, line right there. This side here is tapered out, and this tapers in towards the head. You guys can kind of see the head is kind of tapered inward or outward, however you want to put it, but it's at a, if you kind of look, it's at kind of an angle there, kind of like my finger is. So ideally, that is what you want your axle to look like, with the exception that now I get to go through the process of cleaning the axle up with the countdown of sandpaper. Meaning I start with a rough grit like I don't know, let's say 180, something like this, and I go up to a 400 and then a 800 and 1,000. Or you can leave some grooves in there, like I said, and just go through and polish them. Polishing alone will make a world of difference on the axle. Some regular metal polish. This is some stuff I find at the truck stops. This is what I usually use. Granted, this one's a little dried out, but it still works. Dip it on, get a little bit, dip it on the rag. And I think this actually works better now. It's not about making it shiny, it's about making it smooth and efficient. I keep saying that. Efficient. Less rolling resistance is efficient. So a polished axle is more efficient. And then it'll put a nice shine on the head of your drill. Just for giggles, I went ahead and just threw some polish on there real quick. I didn't even sand it or nothing. And it actually didn't come out half bad. There's some fabric on there, but that's fine. You guys can see, I may just skip, just because I'm on a time restraint this week, I may go ahead and skip sanding them all down, because that actually turned out a lot nicer than usual. And pretty much from here to here, it's not going to see the wheel anyway. Yeah, that's a little rough, but I don't know. We'll experiment with it. We'll just leave it like this, and we'll just go with using our polish on a rag and just knocking that out. Just use a cheap little shop rag. We'll give that a shot. We'll straighten these out, and I'll show you how to do that. But we'll just send it with that. Now, I must make note, if your rules don't allow for you to modify your axles or wheels, don't take these steps. But if they don't say no, let me show you guys something real quick that are new to my channel. This is why I say what I say. The rules don't say you can or can't use the gray area. Yes, those are tires behind me. Yes, that is a race car. I love gray areas. I don't always know how to use them, but when I do, I use them. So, but what I'm saying is, these rules here are one cut and dried rule, other than the dimensions themselves, is that you cannot use a liquid lubricant. You must use a dry lubricant. There's nothing about not polishing, or at least dry lubricant. Pretty much, No starting devices. Must be free rolling. Blah, 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 blah. I'm building my car to BSA specs according to this rule sheet. Like I said, if you're a scout or a scout parent, make sure it's okay with your pack or whatever. The way I see it is Pinewood Derby for the kids is a not only a fun activity, but it's a chance to learn about gravity, potential, and kinetic energy, friction. There's a lot to learn with Pinewood Derby. So that's why I'm going through the steps that I'm doing is to help, like I said, make the car more efficient, the axles, the wheels, everything more efficient. The next step after the axles for me is to go through and try to eliminate any imperfections in the wheels. I haven't quite decided if I want to use these wheels or not, but I probably will at least just to at least make the video. So these wheels, it's hard to see in the camera, but along the edges. So on these wheels, along the edges, you got these tread-like ribs, and then on the back side, it's hard to see in the camera, but you can kind of see a little lip right on the edge. So what that stuff implies is less efficiency. A little ripple on the edge could have just a smidge piece, little tiny piece of plastic hanging off, causing well, I don't know what the proper term is, but causing an issue with the wheel not letting it roll to its full potential. The same with the outside edge. So what we want to do is get the wheel rounded off. Actually, what you really want is the wheel to be kind of angled, kind of tapered towards the inside, I believe it is. I'd have to double check, but I don't get that fancy. I haven't seen anybody on our district level get that crazy, but I'm not saying they won't. So we want to get max efficiency out of the wheel, and I gotta find my tool to do it. Okay, so the wheels are a little bit different. We have this little tool here, goes into the drill, runs through the end, unscrews, run it through the wheel, and just snug it up. And you want to get it to where you don't have any wobble in the wheel. So with doing the wheels, since they are plastic will get hot and melt, or even blister a little bit. We're going to take some water, put it in a bowl. Take a drink for ourselves. Now what we're going to do is more or less we're going to go through a countdown phase of sandpaper. We're going to start with a grittier paper and work down to a very fine, I believe this is 2000 grit. I mean, there's not much difference between this side and the back side. And we're going to finish off with polish. Why? Well, the polish is going to give a really fine, like it did with the axles, even though we didn't go through the countdown with the sandpaper on the axles. The polish still acts as kind of like a sanding, cleaning however you want to put it. But it's like a final step to get the final preparation on the wheel. So this is going to be pretty much our end result. We've pretty much got rid of the ribs off the edge. You can kind of see the wheels got a little bit of a taper to it. We got rid of the lip on the inside edge also. So this is our goal for all 4 wheels. You can see they're official BSA wheels. My rules, I don't allow the Hobby Lobby style wheels to be ran. They all need to be official BSA wheels one way or the other. They got to have either that on it or this, one or the other. But our main thing is we want the wheels to be efficient. I can't stress it enough. Efficiency is the key to a fast Pinewood car. It's key to a fast race car in general. But okay, so this is the wheel we just did. This is a vintage style wheel. We'll bring it up here. No markings on the outside edge. Made in USA, official BSA. So this is a vintage style wheel. It's got a smaller rim, if that's what you want to call it, on the inside compared to these where they're a lot bigger. So what I was thinking is using this style up front and the old style on the rear to make it look like a drag car. Kind of what I was thinking, so I think that's what we're going to go with. I might doctor these up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and finish working these wheels over. Get all 4 of the wheels I'm going to run done. And then all we got to worry about is finishing painting the car. I got to get Daniel's car out here. I'm not going to... Some of y'all probably be like, you need to do his car up just like yours, but let me be honest with you. He's going to want to play with it, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time. This is his car, by the way. I cut it out at the same time I was cutting the Cub Scouts out, but I'm not going to go get crazy with it like I do my own. He's got a couple years. I'll help him, but even then, starting off, we're going to do basics, so. And our last step before we're actually fully ready to put the car together is, move that stuff out of the way. We got this tool here. This is an axle straightener. You guys can see it's got a beveled edge over here, smooth over here. So how this machine works, and some of you are probably like, why do you do this to start with before you work the axles? Well, I have a theory, right or wrong, but that theory is that as you're working that axle, you're putting heat to it. And heat can cause things to warp. So my theory is once we're done with the axle, we put it in here and we'll do what we got to do here. I'll put this stuff back because it's very well possible to knock some things out of alignment here. So what we're going to do, we got our axle in there. We got it in there pretty flush. We are going to tap, tap, tap. Then we're going to raise this up. Take our axle and rotate it a little bit. And we're going to do it again. Okay. Get that? Now we're going to do that 3 more times. Now these wheels are kind of dull looking. This is where a Sharpie comes into play. Real simple. I don't know if this Sharpie's any good, but take it and voila. All you're going to do is take your Sharpie, go around the outside lip, and just lightly brush across the spokes, and then you got you a painted wheel. And there's the final result. I think those wheels are going to look sick behind those, set up in a drag pattern. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think. So, the next video I put out for the Pinewood Derby series will be the final stages of putting the car together. Hopefully, I'll have it all painted by then. Well, it'll have to be painted by then because I'm not going to put a car together and mask off the wheels and all that. It's a lot more work than I want to do. But it'll be the final process of the car before we go to race it. We still got to graphite the wheels and run them in and do all that fun stuff. But I hope you guys are not only enjoying this little series, but I'm hoping you guys are getting something out of it. I know there are actual adult leagues, or what I call beer drinking leagues, that actually run like we would run for points in the race cars at the track. They run for points and beer at adult leagues. So I know it's not just Cub Scouts looking at these videos. It's going to be some other people look for tips and tricks. I build my cars to be BSA Cub Scout legal. Same rules I make my kids follow for the Scouts and for our district competitions. That's the rules I follow. Like I said, this little piece of paper, whatever I did with it, with the rules, leaves a lot of gray areas, which I appreciate because I believe it allows for creativity for the kids or competitors to get creative and learn different ways, what works, what don't work. Of course, there's always going to be that Karen out there. Well, it ain't fair. My child didn't win because you went through and did all this extra work. It ain't fair. Guess what? Do the extra work. Do your homework. That's probably why you're watching these videos to start with, is try to learn. So do your homework. If it don't work, try something different. So I'm going to close this out. I got to go in. We got to get ready to go jump over on the Trucking Diaries channel and do some truck driving for the next 2 days. You know, because ideally leaving the day after Christmas is the perfect day to leave. But on that note, I didn't say Merry Christmas to y'all. My bad. So, y'all stay safe out there. God bless you. Come back, see what this car turns up looking like. See how we're going to make it faster than everybody else's. God bless y'all. Stay safe out there. And don't inhale the paint fumes.